If you have ongoing exposure to controlling people, it's a virtual certainty that you're going to experience blurry boundaries, which is why I've created the extensive online course called This Is Me, Establishing Boundaries with the Controllers in Your Life. There's a link below that will give you all of the details, and I hope that you would find it therapeutic. I'm going to begin today by stating the obvious, and that is narcissists are the consummate game players. I don't think that catches a whole lot of you off guard now, does it? You know what I'm talking about. One of the most common games that narcissists like to play is what we might refer to as the hit and run game. Now, that's pretty easy to figure out what that entails. You know, when a narcissist plays the hit and run game, they're going to be very forceful up front and very aggressive. They can try to foist their own agenda onto you, and they have all sorts of tactics, whether it's shame and guilt and rage, or they can be sneaky, or they can do a smear campaign against you. And then when it comes time for you to sit down with that person and say, you know, we have a problem here and we need to talk, where'd they go? And they become very unavailable. That's the hit and run. They take their best shot at you, and then they're not going to be available to sit down and discuss anything constructive with you. For example, let's suppose that you have someone at work, and that person is known for being troublesome and a complainer and griping, and they make your life miserable and don't do anything at all to cooperate with and coordinate with you. And so when it's time for you to sit down and say, you know, we obviously have differences, let's talk, they don't do it. They make themselves unavailable, and they just simply won't cooperate. They don't give you the time of day. Or the same could be said, let's say, inside a family situation where one family member is upset with another family member, and you know that person may go into the rage and agitation and irritability. But again, when it comes time to breaking it down and saying, you know, we need to see if we can have a meeting of the minds, it's like, no, I don't do that. Or in an argument that you might have with your the person you live with, your marriage partner, then afterwards that person can give you the silent treatment for a week. That's what I'm talking about when I refer to as the hit and run game. And you have those two elements that go along with this particular game that they like to play. It's the element of abrasiveness and then evasiveness. Now let's break those two down and see if we can get an idea of what's going on, because the more you can see behind the scenes with those two elements, then the less inclined you're going to be to get pulled into their manipulations. When a person goes into the abrasive style of interaction with you, obviously they're feeling angry. Okay, fair game. We all have moments where we feel anger. And when I say anger, annoyance, frustration, irritability, agitation, we can have those moments with one another. And many times at the very base of the anger can be a valid thought or feeling that we want to expose. Narcissists, they just simply go straight into what we refer to as the aggressive style of anger. Yeah, they're going to try to talk to you about the things that are bothering them, but they're going to do it at your expense. That's the definition of aggressive anger. Standing up for yourself, but in such a way that diminishes or even destroys the other individual. When abrasive narcissists use anger, they're not trying to have clarity. They're not trying to find coordination. They're trying to establish power and authority. They can be very non-negotiating in their anger. They're unwilling to blend. They can hurl insults with you. It's like they have a commitment to the very unhealthy form of anger, because in their way, it's like, okay, if I can make you suffer and feel pain enough, then I come out on top. It's a very sick way of thinking. Now, in addition, when they go into this abrasive style, narcissists are also showing a lack of future thinking. Now, when I say that, it's like they don't consider where this form of interaction with you is taking the relationship. They don't care. It just takes just a moment or two to think, if we keep this kind of communication up, we're not going to have a good relationship. And their thought is, all I care about is my mood in the moment and getting what I want in the moment. And it's very childish in the way that they engage with you. I want what I want right now. Or in addition, the abrasive way of interacting with you is steeped in a false view of who they are. The abrasive narcissist has a real powerful sense of entitlement, as if somehow or another they're more special than anyone else, and their words are infallible and can never be questioned. They have an entitlement that they operate with, and it illustrates that they have a very short memory about their own imperfections. Not like they bring all sorts of perfection to the equation. They make mistakes too, and they miscalculate and they hurt. But it's like, no, we're not going to deal with that. All I care about is just pushing my issues onto you. Likewise, we can say that when a person is in the abrasive mode, they're just operating with alternate reality. They just simply want to focus on the facts, if we can use that term loosely, as they see it. Now, when they go into the evasive mode, abrasiveness is more about their anger. Evasiveness is more about their fear. Evasiveness is also a power move, but it is indeed anchored in fear. They're afraid of exposing themselves. They're afraid of looking weak. I mean, when you ask them, why is it so hard to just simply sit down and say, we each have different thoughts or feelings or goals. Why don't we talk about that? It's like, I don't know if I can do that. They fear perhaps that they might have to say, I'm wrong, or they fear admitting errors or misinterpretations. So they fear looking inept or inadequate or not complete. They don't want to lose their power, and their ego is way too fragile to just simply say, I can hold on. And I can stand up to whatever it is you have to say. I'm okay with that. Subconsciously, and this is very important for you to recognize, narcissists have a subconscious belief in their own ineptitude. Now, they will not say that to save their life, but basically their evasiveness is their way of saying, I don't know how to do relationships. I don't know how to handle differences well. I just don't feel up to the task. Now, they'll just focus on the fact that I'm right and you're wrong, but subconsciously, there's the sense that says, I don't feel competent to engage in relationships in the healthy standard operating procedures. They're only into their own measurables. If you do A, B, and C, then that means you're right. And if you have rank, then that means you're a somebody. And they just can't go into the notion that says we're all in this together. The aptitude, the competence is just not there. So you have abrasiveness, and that's like the person that remains as the playground bully or the mean girl. And then you have the evasiveness, which is basically the whiny crybaby. And you have those two kind of people wrapped up in one, except we're not talking about kids on the playground. We're talking about full-grown adults, many times in positions of power and influence. It's exasperating, isn't it? And the older you get, it's like, I don't want to have to play these games. Let's keep in mind that when they try to play this hit and run game with you, you're not required to go along with that. As best as possible, even though they want you to go into the counterflow, you want to decide, this is just not something I'm going to participate in. You certainly want to remain open to good discussions and constructive interactions with one another. You want to have a sense that says, I'm going to maintain my stability even if you're trying to pull me off of that. But in the end, it's like, no, they're stuck. And they have such an immaturity and they have such a commitment to their unhealthiness that they are not able to come into that adult way of engaging with people. And so you're going to need to build as much of your sense of success and happiness and well-being upon other individuals or other circumstances that do not include that abrasive, evasive narcissist. They're just not equipped to go into that space with you. Now, you might complain, the price that you have to pay by being in the presence of this very abrasive, hit and run kind of narcissist can actually be pretty strong and pretty powerful. And we're going to acknowledge it hurts when you're around someone who does that hit and run. And so that's something you're going to have to hold on to, which is all the more reason for you to say, I'm staying away from these kind of individuals. They want to play games with me. I am not interested in relationships where it's just merely one game after another after another. Now, you can say it's not fair when they do this with you, but the bottom line is, fair or not, that's just who they are. And so as a result, what you want to do instead is to decide, I'm going to go with the way of life and interaction with people that's least damaging. And if it means that I have to stay away from people who try this hit and run, abrasive, evasive stuff, go play your games with someone else. My goal is just simple self-care. I think that's a reasonable thing for me to maintain. And I hope that this gives you some good awareness of what you might be dealing with and looking at the behind the scenes elements that are going on there. Knowledge is power. And so the more knowledgeable you are with respect to these things, the more you can rise above their pettiness. If you've not already done so, I would encourage you to hit that subscribe button and the notification bell that goes along with it. Gus and I'll keep bringing you more videos. Gus slept through another one here. That's okay. If you have a need for therapy, and I know that many times when you think about these kinds of issues, it prompts you to think, I could use somebody that could help me unpack this. I'm so pleased that we have a sponsor that can help you with this. Below, there's a link to the BetterHelp people, and there's a whole host of licensed professional therapists that can assist you if that would be a need that you would choose to pursue. In addition, I have my therapeutic courses with multiple videos, teaching documents, and questions that walk you through in a process of growth and healing. One is called Ready, Set, Connect, about making healthy connections. This is me, about establishing boundaries. The other is Free to Be, about finding yourself despite the controllers. In addition, we have my books. We have a new podcast now that we're going into, and other resources that are below. So I'm so grateful when you allow me to be a part of your growth journey and trajectory. Okay, hit and run, abrasive, evasive. That's stuff that, playground bullies do, but I'm hoping you're thinking, I'm way beyond that. And so when you see it coming and they're inviting you into the game, I'm hoping you indeed can say, thanks, but no thanks. I have a much better way to live my life, and it doesn't include that. I'm hoping instead that you can live with dignity, respect, and civility. That's what we stand for here on Team Healthy. And in doing so, it positions you to be a person of peace.